Tack piano.
So
we wanted to make one because Abbey Road has one, and it's really cool. It's in the studio too.
Yeah, recordings it's been on.
Rocky Raccoon by the Beatles and Lady Madonna. But there was a Tack piano at Olympic as well. Killer Queen, the Queen.
It's just a sound, isn't it, that's synonymous with popular music in some way, but you don't come across them very often.
Visconti Studio is a facility we have here, and the main selling point is this huge room which has a really unique and beautiful reverberation because it's an octagon and it's very tall, and so sound carries in that space beautifully, and that's one of the interesting things about this Tack piano, because it sounds very different to all the other pianos in the space.
Yeah. With the studio that we have here, we've got loads and loads of interesting instruments that we're starting to accrue and gather. So we have a Hammond, we have a Mellotron, we have a harmonium, we have a Celeste. On loan at the minute. Lots of pianos, something like 40 pianos in the department.
50 plus, I heard.
Maybe.
50 plus pianos.
No one knows.
We got another one last week.
We did.
Yeah.
And they vary really from the Steinway, which is the posh one, which is a full, is it Model D?
Yeah, Steinway D.
And to kind of crazy, knackered old honky-tonk Joanna piani type things. And the one that we've prepared with the tacks, the thumb tacks, or as it turns out, upholstery nails?
Upholstery nails, yeah.
Wasn't a bad sounding instrument. It's a little bit tuney, but that's okay.
Yeah, I think originally we put it in there wanting to make it into a Tack piano, but it wouldn't hold the tune, and we thought, let's see if it'll fix itself, and it never did, and so we could sacrifice it.
Yeah.
We could ruin it then, it's fine.
And weirdly, it's kind of enhanced it and made it a lot better, hasn't it?
Yeah, more usable, much more useful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing that struck both of us, I think, when we first finally got all the nails in, that it just is so transient, spiky, bright, just cuts through just anything really.
Yeah.
But with the resonance you then get, it's very different in terms of timbre to say a normal upright.
Or a dulcimer, which is kind of like a thin tone with the same transient. This is a deeper sound. It's lovely. It was lovely to play as well.
Yeah.
It feels very light.
I like the idea of just thinking like creatively that I would want to sometimes lose that transient and then have all the aftermath of the bright resonance with the frame.
Yeah.
But some of the, just playing some chords on it, you kind of get these really big, almost like pad sounds. They sound like sort of scritti politti pads or like 80s synth, early digital synths maybe.
It could be the fact that it's slightly out of tune. You've got that chorus, chorusy
effect
going on.
Totally. And the fact that it's very wide. If you're spreading chords out, you've got that kind of stereo spread. But to prepare the thing was we thought it'd be quite easy, that we just push these.
I literally thought I'd take the nail and go boop, boop, and I thought I might have to glue it in or something, but oh man, that was hard.
It's my colleague Leah.
Oh hi, I didn't see you there.
Hey.
Hey.
What are you doing, Leah?
Oh, I'm marking this up. I am plotting where the tacks will go based on the grooves that exist in the felt. And it's very precise. I'm using my laser eye to measure this.
So we snapped the drill bit in one of the hammers. So we've now decided to hammer using a hammer,
Hammer and hammers.
and a wedge.
I can't. I haven't got anything to play.
That gives us a new instrument here, which is what's really exciting. We have a thing called the super piano that's Grotrian and Steinweg grand, Steinweg. And it basically has a kind of MIDI pickup bar, so it creates on, off, and velocity and note value, pitch. And then you can hook it up to something like a VSI or a synth over MIDI, an old analog synth, or we sometimes use Mainstage. And it has a speaker that sits on the chassis underneath, and you know, there's all sorts of possibilities there.
Yeah, the light touches are interesting. You get those sort of
Wobbly.
Ricochet. Which everyone feels comfortable with preparing, so that's the one you can go inside and put your chewing gum or whatever.
Which is possibly going to be another project that we'd like to do soon, looking at interesting ways to prepare a piano, not necessarily a la Cage or someone like that, but perhaps there's a more contemporary method of doing it.
Or muting, creative muting.
Yeah.
Might be nice.
Yeah. I've seen some really cool stuff with E-bows on certain strings, so you kind of create almost like a sitar-like drone in the tonic key, and then you play your stuff on top. That's pretty good. The musical community here at Kingston's really, it's all about kind of creativity and the application of that in terms of how it affects music making. That's one of the big things that we have here.
And playtime, it's all about making and doing and playing and using these instruments. And so we've got one asset we have here at Kingston is lots of room, lots of stuff to play with, and we attract students that want to do that sort of thing, and we want to do that sort of thing as well.
And it links to that idea of community, and a community of musically minded people all in one place, several hundred people here with totally different skill sets, and sometimes there are things in common as well, and it's how you kind of learn. And like this, it's a playground for kind of creativity, and sometimes you fuck things right up and it goes wrong, but that's good because you learn as well. So.
We almost fucked up a whole piano, but it turned out good.
This is true.
It's lovely.
It was a leap of faith and it worked.
Sounds wonderful. I'm pleased we did it.
Yeah, and it'd be great if you know, to have someone come and sample it, create an instrument, or maybe work with us in other ways with some of these other pianos or instruments that we have here. It'd be amazing.
Definitely, yeah.
So come on down.